the kind of innovation lab team and the AI team led by Mo Sharif, they're very much focused on making sure that these things are marketer-driven, outcome-driven tools that support the kind of key user stories that need to be achieved within Sitecore. So,
the term I hear people at Sitecore use, and you guys use specifically, is custom SaaS, right? You kind of take limitations in the SaaS market, you guys open it up and are allowed to build out unique business cases. So great to see.
These are exciting times to actually amplify kind of the way in which marketers can reach their audiences in a much different way than they've ever done before. And so, these are kind of some of the ideas that kind of ultimately were kicking around that ultimately kind of shaped kind of the vision for SitecoreAI.
Welcome, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Sitecore Water Cooler, the casual conversation podcast dedicated to covering all things related to Sitecore, including product updates, implementation insights, getting the most out of your Sitecore investment, and more. I'm your co-host today, Maggie Burke, Sitecore Operations Director and Sitecore MVP at AmericanEagle.com. Welcome back, everyone, to our first episode of 2026, and boy, do we have a way to kick things off this year. Coming out of Sitecore Symposium 2025, everyone was buzzing about the announcement of SitecoreAI, and I can firmly say that the hype was real. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on SitecoreAI, what exactly it is, why it exists, and how it's changing the way organizations can create, personalize, and scale digital experiences. On today's special episode, John Price and I are joined by Sitecore's Chief Product Officer, Roger Connolly, and VP of Product Management, Ruadhan Barry, to help us break down how SitecoreAI came to life, the customer needs that shaped it, and how those insights were brought to life as powerful platform features. If you're using SitecoreAI, thinking about using it, or just want a behind-the-scenes look at how SitecoreAI came to be, this episode is for you. Roger, Ru, John, welcome to the water cooler. All right.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, we're very happy to have you guys on. So thank you for joining and dialing in all the way from Belgium. We're kind of sad we didn't get to get you guys across the pond over here and into the studio. So we'll have to put that on the list for next time. But we really appreciate you guys joining.
That'll be part two of this session.
Absolutely, the carry-on. So before we kind of dive into SitecoreAI in general, wanted to get some backgrounds from you guys first. Maybe Roger, we'll start with you. Just kind of like years at Sitecore, how you guys ended up there, et cetera. So Roger, can you kick things off?
Yeah, I've been. My name's Roger Connolly. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Sitecore. I've been with Sitecore for about 7.5 years now. I actually think maybe coming up on 8. I came into Sitecore as part of the Sitecore Content Hub acquisition all the years back when it was Style Labs. My journey actually into the space was actually I was a DAM practitioner for probably a good 15 years, kind of prior to me joining a software vendor, and I kind of selected, implemented, and managed digital asset management products primarily at Victoria's Secret in New York. And I kind of had been introduced to the Style Labs kind of product team while I was at Victoria's Secret, and I decided, I wanted to try something else. And so I decided to jump to the industry side, and here I am.
There you go. What a story. Very cool. And Ru, how about yourself?
yeah, so I go by Ru. Everyone knows me by Ru. My full name is Ruadhan. So if you see a funny name coming in with D and an H in there, it's an Irish name. So we like to add a couple of letters in just to throw the non-Irish people.
I'll say I'm Irish, and I wasn't even going to try to butcher that. So that's why I was calling you Ru.
So I came into Sitecore from the BoxEver acquisition. My skill set was in kind of customer data analytics, customer data personalization, testing, targeting, all of those types of activities. I came into Sitecore. I stayed in the kind of consulting role that I was in. I went over to product management, or back to product management, to help out with analytics. And then more recently, I've kind of taken over the product management side of SitecoreAI, and ensuring that our composable products, so the products that we get acquired over time, that they fit together into a kind of common user story and user journey. And that's been the primary focus of mine for the last year or so.
Wow, awesome. That's great. Well, again, thank you both for joining. And I think before we really kind of dive into the story of it, I want us to kind of transport back for a minute into, just back to Orlando, right? And it's, we're at Sitecore Symposium. Eric Stein just made the big announcement, but maybe there was someone that had an emergency call they had to take, or had to go run and get coffee, and they missed it. And maybe they run into you guys in the lobby, run into you guys in the elevator. And Ru, they're like, hey, what is this SitecoreAI that I'm hearing about? Ru, can you give us what an elevator pitch of just what exactly SitecoreAI is?
Of course. The first thing I would say to them is that there's a recording of Symposium, and you should go back and listen to Eric, because he'll
fair.
probably give you a better elevator pitch than I will. When you look at Sitecore and our customers and kind of what they are looking for, they're looking for a kind of system that enables them to build and engage with their customers on all of their digital properties. And before Symposium, we hadn't necessarily made that as easy as we would like it to be. We had acquired a set of products and capabilities. We had kind of put them together, and they worked okay together, but they didn't work as well together as we would like them to work. And so we made the decision that we needed to improve that. There's also a kind of market-changing moment around generative AI and how you bring that into a SaaS product. That was the second kind of activity that was happening. And the third kind of activity was that some people would come to us and they would say, actually, it's kind of hard to buy from Sitecore. We would like to do DAM, we would like to do CMS, we would like to do personalization, or whatever you would like to do. And sometimes that wasn't a very clear path for people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wanted to simplify our go-to-market. We wanted to ensure that we could deliver agentic capabilities into the SaaS platform. And we wanted to reconcile some of the capabilities that we had acquired and make sure they all work together. And so SitecoreAI is the bringing together of a common user story, a user journey, so that our customers can continue to engage their customers and build experiences that matter. And so when their customers are engaging with them on their website, that they have the full power of everything that Sitecore has to offer. That includes agentic capabilities, but also all of the Sitecore capabilities that people have come to kind of know and love in content and media and personalization and testing and kind of customer data. So bring all those together under one umbrella called SitecoreAI, recognize the importance of the shift for AI, but also recognize that we need to provide a cohesive set of products that work really well together in a commercial beneficial package for people to understand.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And I think there's some confusion around if SitecoreAI is a brand new product, and it's not really, right? I mean, it's a concept, and it's a, reality of putting the products that you guys have spent years really enhancing together into that cohesive story, which I think is important for people to know, because I think even customers that we deal with, or people that we're talking to, are like, well, is SitecoreAI just a brand new product? And it's not. It's definitely something that you guys are enhancing and putting more effort into, which I think is great. And what would you?
I think you're right there. For those kind of customers, just to pause for that. For those kind of customers, I would say, look, if you're a customer, I would think of SitecoreAI as two things, and you can call it a product, but it's not a new product.
Right.
It is two things. It is a clarification of the interface,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a review of exactly how you interface with Sitecore as a business or as an application. And so we've rebranded some of what might have been traditionally considered XM Cloud, that has been rebranded as an application interface called now SitecoreAI. As part of that, we put a load more features into that proposition, but that proposition hasn't changed. And then there's also a commercial angle. Yeah. And the commercial angle is that you can have additional licenses and additional entitlements. That is, let's say you were an XM Cloud customer before. If you were to say, actually, I would like to engage with SitecoreAI as a commercial proposition, a couple of things change for you. One is that you get this essentials tier of all of the other product holdings. So you get an essentials tier of DAM, you get an essentials tier that allow you to test and target in without feature gains that you couldn't have done before. And we also made a commitment on stage, which I think is very important, which differentiates us from maybe some of the market, is that we said, look, AI is a big enough thing that it should be considered table stakes, and there is no additional charge for using AI features within SitecoreAI. So if you wanted to optimize content, you wanted to use our agents, if you were using them in SitecoreAI as part of that application, that was all included in the subscription. So I would say it's those two things. It's the application interface, which has changed slightly, and we've given more features. Yep. And then it's the commercial angle for people to be able to land within Sitecore, or if you're an already Sitecore customer, to expand your understanding or your capabilities that are available to you at almost no charge, and be able to test out a DAM if that was something you were interested in, or in kind of more testing and targeting capabilities.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, Real, I was just going to ask you, so jumping ahead maybe just a little bit, with your competition in the market, right, the DXP and the CMS space, extremely crowded. So can you maybe extract just a few high bullets on what SitecoreAI has, or some key critical capabilities that other platforms in the market don't have? Just maybe just a quick high-level overview there.
Yeah, sure. So there are some competitors who have built agents in their capabilities. I don't think they are as deep or as in depth as ours. And so I think we've made a partnership with Microsoft that is a very deep partnership, and it has enabled us to build out a set of capabilities which are, I think, very differentiated. I think they cover the whole gamut of the marketer experience, all the way from AEO, GEO optimization. We've thought about kind of translation and localization. We've thought about, I think we released over 20 agents at Symposium, and a lot of those have gotten very good traction. So that's been quite interesting. But we've also connected some agents together, so into this concept called flows, which allows us to do more complicated things like ABM campaigns. And those kind of things are differentiated in the market when it comes to agentic. I also think then we have a stronger offering personally for our CMS and DAM capabilities being served together. I think that's a very strong differentiator for us. And I think we have incredibly strong data and analytics propositions as well. I think all of that coming as one package is differentiated. I think all of that coming in kind of one interface is differentiated as well. And then most people would come to Sitecore for those capabilities, but also because of the enterprise permissions, governance, trust, stability, scalability that is there. And that's why some of the biggest brands in the world choose to use Sitecore for their digital properties.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we've definitely seen a large uptick of adoption of SitecoreAI, previously XM Cloud and the rest of your products since Symposium. So it's really great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even, Ru, what you were mentioning about the part where, it's now this kind of grouping of all of them together is allowing, and especially in the commercial space, people that might have been interested in some of the other products but didn't want to necessarily go through the red lines of it or having to prove the ROI of it to their leadership teams because maybe they didn't have the budgets necessarily right away. Now they can actually get their feet wet and try out a lot of these products in a way to grow into maybe using them more so. And I think that's a key differentiator as well, for why people should kind of look into investing in this.
Like no one has spare budget these days, so like when we talk to our customers, like they're seeing reduction in traffic, they're seeing maybe more intent coming through in the traffic that does come through. But if you talk to Eric or you talk to like Roger on this call, they'll tell you like now is not the time to be nickel and diming customers. Marketing budgets are under pressure. And if the levers that they might have pulled to generate traffic or generate traffic to the site, maybe those levers aren't working anymore. The ads aren't working and they don't necessarily know why. And people aren't coming to the website, but if they do, they're coming with slightly different intents. And so, you can go back to a customer and say, well, the world is changing. You're in a time of uncertainty. Now is the time to pay us more money. That's not a very healthy way to kind of run a business. And now is the time that marketers actually need a bit of support. And so if you're a CMS customer and DAM is something that you think is interesting for omni-channel personalization or omni-channel distribution, then fine, have a test. See if that works. Experiment and see if that's important for you. Same with testing. And if you're a DAM customer, maybe you need to look at content management systems or more experimentation and analytics. And so, now is not the time to be going to customers who are already under pressure and say, oh, by the way, you need to go through more red lines, go through more money, give us more money for license and entitlements. That's not the way you build a loyal customer base.
No, that's a fantastic way of looking at it. Because again, it's putting the customer value first. And that's how you get to grow into a stronger product. So that's fantastic. I think I want to understand a little bit, if we even go back even further, before Sitecore Symposium 2025, maybe even looking into the one in 2024, when did the concept and ideation for SitecoreAI really start? And Roger, maybe you can talk a little bit about this. Like, was there a light bulb moment for the change? Did you guys know even leading in? Because I know for Symposium in 2024, there was a lot of talk about Sitecore Stream and things like that. So like, where did the idea of SitecoreAI and that concept really kind of take flight?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's probably not one specific moment. It really was a series of moments over the course of, I would say, even going further back beyond Stream, right? When we launched XM Cloud, I think everything we've done over the last several years really has been kind of, building from the step that we took prior, to really try to simplify our offering, give customers a pathway to a SaaS CMS solution. As we thought about how we were going to bring AI to market, Stream was really the first step in providing assistive capabilities to customers using AI. And as we were kind of thinking about kind of the symposium moment this year, Agentic was really the hot topic. So it was, how do we kind of bring Agentic forward on top of the Stream proposition? And as we kind of continue to think through the mechanics of how our customers wanted to experience AI, they wanted it to be something that was actually purpose built for what they were trying to do. And what we started to realize, and we had been thinking this for a while, but you need more than one kind of solution to do the end-to-end marketing process, right? And I think you can't really survive just thinking about the CMS in isolation. There's elements from upstream, there's elements from downstream that kind of need to be available to you, so you can have AI properly reason over your content to really achieve outcomes, right? And so it's almost like as though like the agentic story kind of forced us to reconsider the foundational layer of Sitecore and all of the strength of capabilities that we had, and said, I think customers need all of this, and maybe they don't need to buy all of it at once, and they can buy kind of as needed. And ultimately kind of what that resulted in was the SitecoreAI proposition, which was the joining up of the capabilities under a single kind of commercial package, agentic foundation that allowed us to build and deploy agents that can reason over the top of all of those components, with the ultimate goal of actually improving marketer outcomes. And I think we're in a world where AI is challenging marketing teams kind of both externally and internally, right? So they're oftentimes being disintermediated in terms of how they're showing up, and so discovery is being completely threatened by AI discovery channels and answer engines. They're being asked by their own kind of CEOs and boards to kind of do more with less and to do it faster, to create more content. They need to create content for humans and machines now, and so you can't just kind of get by with just simply passive tools anymore. It's no longer about building a website and then publishing it and waiting for traffic. You have to go on the offensive, and you have to go get traffic, right? And so how do we give marketers the tools to actually make their CMS part of their arsenal, not just simply something that's waiting for people to arrive? Right. And so things like ABM and actually using your CMS as an ABM lever, like that, these are exciting times to actually amplify kind of the way in which marketers can reach their audiences in a much different way than they've ever done before. And so, these are kind of some of the ideas that kind of ultimately were kicking around that ultimately kind of shaped kind of the vision for SitecoreAI.
Yeah. The timing of all this is outstanding, I think, for Sitecore, maybe with a little bit of luck. I read an article, I think about a week ago, about Gartner, how they're getting, hammered a little bit with their earnings in this new world of how people are purchasing SaaS software. So it's kind of double down on a point you made, Roger, but you also, Maggie, is marketing teams and organizations are no longer going to be going through these long RFP processes to choose individual pieces of technology, where now that you're giving access to these products to teams that now own SitecoreAI, they can experiment with bits and parts of the platform to prove out an idea, prove out a pilot, prove out a POC. I think that's just going to continue for the next so odd years, especially with how fast the technology is changing. So I think SitecoreAI definitely is set up very well for obviously you all, but also for your customers to try things out, POC them, and then iterate quickly instead of going through these big, long, arduous processes of buying a technology without even fully know if it's going to work for them. So right. I think this really sets you guys up well for the future.
Definitely. And I think it goes back to the concept we've talked about often here, and I think a lot of people know, which is about that active being proactive instead of reactive. And this is allowing for marketers to be proactive about what they're doing. And to your point, Roger, not just waiting for traffic to come. Like what can we do to make traffic come to us? What can we do to acquire more customers? And this is really allowing for, organizations to do that. What were maybe some of the key challenges or opportunities for customers that kind of led Sitecore to invest heavily into AI? I mean, I know we've talked about the fact that AI and Agentic, they're very much prevalent right now, it just in the ecosystem in general. But were there any maybe key challenges or opportunities that you guys thought of for customers that really led Sitecore to invest heavily into the AI space?
I think what I would say is that personalization has been something that Sitecore has been very good at historically. But the reality is that in order for you to really achieve the right amount of value out of our software, it required a few things that most businesses didn't have access to, right? So you needed a ton of content, firstly, to drive a really differentiated personalization experience, and you needed expertise specifically on kind of how to kind of define personalization rules. And so I think AI kind of presents, a threat in some ways, but also it presented us with the greatest opportunity to actually kind of to reason about large sets of data and kind of make that reasoning available to to the layperson, to the lay marketer that's just trying to get started. So how do we accelerate the ability for them to generate content that would support a personalization strategy? And then how do we actually make it easier for the marketer to actually execute and implement it and even get started, right? Oftentimes they don't know where to begin. And that oftentimes that fear of kind of where to start actually kind of shuts down the whole process. And so if we can recommend to a customer or to a marketer what next steps to take based on the signals that we're receiving in the platform, that kind of lowers the bar of entry quite substantially. And we think is ultimately going to drive a much higher adoption of these types of technologies at a time when it's actually going to be even more important for you to make sure that the content that you're serving is relevant, right? And so, AI is flooding the zone with a lot of genericized content. And so if your content is being summarized generally, when you actually get a chance to talk to somebody and you know something about them, you have to stand out and you need to be able to deliver a personalized experience. And this goes well beyond the persona. It has to be about their intent. It has to be about maybe what they own from you. It has to be situational.
Definitely. Because if you're trying to speak to somebody, if you make it a more personalized and intentful journey for them, they're more likely to actually keep moving through that journey and actually convert. So that makes sense. I think, you hit on points, especially with, marketers and content editors specifically. Like, how does Sitecore AI help content teams specifically? And I'm coming from, I was an English major in college. And so I pride myself on my writing sometimes, but at the same time, I find myself often using AI and things now just for, at least like, okay, here's a concept, write something for me, and then I'll tweak it myself and whatnot. But, is the intent of Sitecore AI, specifically when we're talking about editors and marketers and writers, is it helping them to move faster or creating better experience, or kind of both at this point?
There are a few things that I really like about generative AI. The first one is that it makes my emails sound much better than I can write them myself. And that's all wonderful. But if you ever worked with me or anyone who's worked with me in product, you'll know that I'm a massive fan of the jobs to be done framework. And so when we look at the jobs to be done by someone who is in the content creation or auditing or kind of authoring space, there are a few things that they need to do on a regular basis that AI can support them with. And so we built a few agents around some of those things. So you can do things like translation, localization. That's something that generative AI is very good at. It's not perfect, but it's very good. You could look at AEO, GEO optimization, which is, not dissimilar to the SEO optimization that you would have done in the past, or might be familiar with. But again, it's a tool that can reason and look at a lot of your data, a lot of your content, and decide where you might be able to improve that. I think that's wonderful, and we built some agents around that. One of the most exciting things that I think is around generative AI is the ability for a non-technical user to be able to do things that were blocked or were locked away from them because it required a technical interface. And so, for example, if you look at the last year or so, we have deployed a number of scenarios where something may not have been considered a content author's job. So something like component variant generation or code or business logic generation that requires code, or HTML or CSS or JavaScript creation. A lot of those things, they would have been, relatively rudimentary things for a technical user to do, but can oftentimes block you from going live. Right. You can't go live because you can't generate a version of a component where the text is on the left instead of the right. You can't change a CTA button. You can't do all of these things. You can't change the tone or the color slightly. Whatever it is you want to do, I think so many times both kind of marketing users or just non-technical users are blocked by doing their job because they need to involve other stakeholders and other people to enable them to get something shipped. Again, it's not perfect, but I do think that things like generative AI can allow them to get much further along in their thinking than they would have otherwise done. And so even if I look at my product team today, we would have had to engage a lot of people to be able to get wireframes together. Now, the product managers can now sit down and actually mock something up in a prototype and say, actually, this is what I'm thinking. This is how the interaction works. Here's how it works as a user flow. And they can communicate that concept a lot more clearly. I think that works for content as well, whether that is textual content, imagery content, technical content that requires maybe more code to be created. I think those are the kind of things where I think that content creators are now unblocked or are much further enabled to be able to get their ideas into the hands of customers and out into the world and shipped, where they might have been blocked otherwise. And so whether it is a kind of day-to-day task using textual generation to improve your content or whatever it is, Those things I think are table stakes. It's the unlocking of additional capabilities that someone might not have had otherwise. And so we've looked across the whole gambit of the jobs to be done. When someone logs into Sitecore, what is the job they're there to do? They're not there because they love logging into Sitecore every day. That would be wonderful, but that's not why someone logs into a SaaS tool. They log into a SaaS tool because they want to get in. They need to do something. They need to push an approval. They need to get something done. They need to collaborate with someone. And then they need to get on with the rest of their day. And so we focus on those things primarily to make sure that those people in the content authoring and creation space are able to come in, get the job done better, get better data, better outcomes faster. And so that's been the kind of primary driver of where we've looked to enable AI in the products to really be a kind of helpful partner for our users.
Absolutely. Kind of end-to-end, get the job done framework. I kind of like that. We're going to have to make that with our own operations team. But no, that's great.
Can I jump in there and just add a little bit? Because I think I want to kind of maybe kind of take the narrative kind of a little bit further in the sense that, at the job level, I think, Ru's articulated, I think, a very kind of clear way in which we can support it. But I think as you think about the composite view of how you stitch these various kind of, seemingly independent things together, it's where you really start to see the framework kind of start to shine and start to kind of lead us towards, an agentic type of experience. So, if you take the AEO-GEO kind of research agent, this agent will actually kind of, interpret kind of your website and kind of tell you where you need to make changes to improve how you might show up in these channels. Whether that's, are you the answer to the questions that you want to be the answer for, right? And so how do I now use the data from that analysis to look inside my content repository and say, does the content that I'm authoring today actually satisfy the answers or show up in that way? And how do I need to improve it? And if you don't have that in your CMS today, maybe you could look in your DAM and say, you know what, do I have any content in my DAM that actually might be a better asset that I can put to use? And maybe it's a PDF white paper. And, and so we have a snackable content generator that allows you to take a long form piece of content and actually generate derivative content from that. So let's say there was a keynote from Symposium that I was able to give and it was recorded. And that provided a snippet or an audio clip of thought leadership. A content author can actually turn that into a blog post or an article automatically using AI. So it's like, as you think about the whole closed loop of being able to kind of look at signals in the market, take those insights to inspect your CMS, find out whether what's there is healthy enough or not, go fetch more from maybe your core DAM, and then turn that into derivative content. These are kind of things that are actually available today.
I'd like to double click into that a little bit. We've talked a lot about agents and AI. Can we maybe dive in for a second on Sitecore Studio and Agentic Studio? Because you guys, Sitecore is releasing, obviously, some out-of-the-box agents. You guys are going to be releasing more. Can you guys maybe talk a little bit about the creativity that teams and agencies can now leverage the Agentic Studio to kind of create their own agents? Can one of you guys maybe dive into a little bit of that?
Yeah, I can dive into that. I think one of the things we released at Symposium was also Studio, and Studio is like an umbrella term for a lot of our integrations. And I think it's important to state, we're on American.ego.com podcast, and so the people come to Sitecore, they don't just see Sitecore, they see Sitecore operating within a community of partners. And by far one of the most valuable features that a lot of our customers have always come to us for is the extensibility of the SaaS platform. It's the ability to take a use case, and I'm guilty, right? So someone comes to me and they say, I have a feature request, and I say, no, that's not something we're going to build. And they say, but I need it done. And they go, okay, well, can we solution it? And I say, but absolutely, you can go to one of our partners and they'll be able to solution something for you. And I think when we made the move to SaaS, I think we made that slightly more difficult than we had in the past. And Sitecore Studio is our way of ensuring that avenue is open, and ensuring that if AmericanEagle.com, you guys have already built marketplace apps, I think you guys have already built agents as well. The goal is that this is a team sport. And so that for someone who is using Sitecore, that they can also use an agent that is built by AmericanEagle.com, and you guys can say, well, actually, we'll build it purely custom for your business. No one else, you can build it purely custom for your business. It'll do exactly what it is that you want to do. And it ensures that you succeed and we succeed, but mostly the customer succeeds. And they get the solution that it is that they want. And so whether it is someone like you guys building an app or an agent, that's wonderful. But sometimes someone might want to bring in other data ports into the Sitecore AI application as well. And they may want to use the marketplace for more generic non-agentic work as well. And so something I was talking to a partner recently was, let's say you wanted to bring in a ticketing system that shows the live tickets that you have between a customer and AmericanEagle.com. You could have a little marketplace app. It would pop up in the application and they could see, here's my response times. Here's my tickets for AmericanEagle.com, or here's any issues I have, or my project plans, or my hours, or my whatever it is that you've got. You can start to bring all of those things. And so meeting users where they are is incredibly important for those types of things. And so if someone's doing their work in Sitecore AI, in the Sitecore AI application, then having the access to those other tools and those additional tools is incredibly important. And so, it's not simply a Sitecore application. It is an application that is built for our users and our customers to be able to get their job done. And oftentimes, that can be made even better by using something custom made for them. And the marketplace, the studio, is there to ensure and make a pretty concise and important message to the market that is, this is a connected platform, and it is a platform that you can use within a complicated stack, within a technical stack, but it is a product that fits within your stack and can bring everything together for you.
Yeah, our team is extremely excited about Studio in the marketplace. You kind of were alluding to it, but yeah, the AmericanEagle.com team did build a marketplace app called Accessibility Owl. We got to remain on brand, so pick another bird.
Yeah.
But basically it helps audit. We have agents auditing content and design before it goes live, flagging anything for WCAG infractions and accessibility concerns. So very powerful, very flexible, and to your point, can be deployed to an individual customer for a single use case, or made more broad in the marketplace that can be deployed to multiple customers. So super exciting stuff.
Yeah, and even beyond just flagging accessibility issues, it will then take it a step further on the operational side to give you suggestions for how to fix them. So if you have alt text that's missing, and a team is like, all right, well, now we've got 100 images or 200 images that we have to fill in alt text for, the agent will actually give you suggestions for this is recommended alt text, and then a click of a button will actually fill the alt text for them. So definitely helps just from capacity standpoint and stuff too. And I think to what you both were alluding to, yes, the creativity that this allows for architects, developers, and things like that, when they get these kind of use cases or ideas, and now they can actually go ahead and build these marketplace apps and things like that. It really, I've never seen our architects team so excited again for this stuff. I myself got excited because I was like, well, now I'm going to wake you guys up in the middle of the night with ideas that just keep coming to my head of like, oh, maybe we should build this, maybe we should do that. So they probably don't love that, but that's fine. This is a very
management.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I would say there's one of the things we like to kind of Ruth touched on this. I think there has been what we like to say is now a false premise that you had to choose between either being in SaaS or being able to kind of have a bespoke solution for your business. And so when we made the move to SaaS, I think there was a period of time where we kind of we weren't able to deliver on kind of what made Sitecore so powerful in its in its history, right? Which is its ability to do anything you needed to do, right? And that was its strength, but it made it very difficult to upgrade. And so when we made the move to SaaS, we had to take certain choices, and that those extensibility points kind of were briefly taken away. Mm-hmm. So our ability to now to kind of provide that experience back to our customers and our partners is something that we're incredibly proud of, because it represents our heritage in a way that respects both where we want to go in the future and where we've come from in the past. And the marketplace is it has become a toy for us as well. And we build our own little micro apps as well to kind of Ruth's point about prototyping. Oftentimes those are done in a marketplace app, and so they can show kind of how data can move between the products, and it's just become a great tool all around. So we're very excited about it.
No, absolutely.
The term I hear people at Sitecore use, and you guys use specifically, is custom SaaS, right? You kind of take limitations in the SaaS market, you guys open it up and are allowed to build out unique business cases. So great to see.
Absolutely. And it's fast, to be honest. I was on a call with our architect one morning where we were talking through a concept of something, and I was like, couldn't we just maybe extend this a little bit, like this way, that way? And he was like, I think we do that with an app. And by that afternoon, he was done with it. And I was like, all right, great. So, so it's again, allowing for that creativity and that speed, and allowing us to, help our customers and stuff too, in, partnership with you guys to really kind of make their dreams come to life as well, on their websites. So, I think one of the apps that we built was around just kind of integrating with a different tool, because we built like a dam connector. But is there anything like, how does Sitecore AI integrate with other MarTech, tools or data platforms or things like that? Because I know that you guys obviously have a lot of your own products and things like that, but there's going to be other organizations sometimes that maybe want to use the CMS, but they have their own CDP and things like that. Does that play well in the sandbox in the Sitecore AI space?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, for as long as I've been in Sitecore, it has always been about connections, and so there are a number of options, right? So you have probably most people will be familiar with the iPaaS solution that we have, which is Connect, which allows you to connect Sitecore into any number of systems, and there is a ton of out-of-the-box recipes there, thousands that you can connect Sitecore into almost any other SaaS application that exists, and so that is there. You can also integrate all through REST and batch APIs. That is also very possible. There is, like in the real-time decisioning space, you can also make real-time calls out to other systems to bring in data that you would like to bring in. And so there are a number of options. And I think Sitecore has always, I would like to think, focused and be seen as someone who fits well within a marketing stack. Absolutely, not all of our customers have all of our products. That would be lovely, but that's not. And so if someone needs to bring in DAM assets into the CMS, then absolutely, that's what the marketplace is for. You could build an application that would bring your DAM assets in. Equally, if you had data and you wanted to bring it in, that is also very possible. If you had other data that you wanted to bring in, you could do that. And so, yeah, I think there are a ton of connection points, both in and out of Sitecore, that enable you to do both personalization on the head, both data management on the head, but you can also do it headlessly as well. And so there are tons of web hooks. There are tons of hooks in and out to enable you to build and make sure that it sits within your infrastructure, your MarTech stack, however you wanted to do it. There really are very little limitations.
Oh, that's great.
And I would maybe add a little bit more to that as we've kind of made the move into agentic AI. We've also kind of completely resurfaced the application with a marketer MCP server that allows you to plug in Sitecore tools and actions into Claude with Microsoft Copilot. And that's backed by a completely rebuilt agentic API or agent API that's specifically geared to kind of expose the necessary actions that are kind of purpose built for consumption by an LLM. So any action that you might want to conceive of in Sitecore is mostly being kind of then rebuilt and repackaged as a tool, an MCP tool. So you can have an agent kind of reason over a set of data and actually take action against Sitecore objects.
I think we've also made that like fairly marketer friendly, right? So there isn't an API for like, you don't have to go create component B, go talk to the layout service, go talk to something else. There is just like a create a page. There is and it's very much focused on the output of what it is you need to do. So it's not maybe traditional API for a developer, although those all still exist there. The MCP, the kind of innovation lab team and the AI team led by Mo Sharif, they're very much focused on making sure that these things are marketer driven, outcome driven tools that support the kind of key user stories that need to be achieved within Sitecore. So I think maybe slightly different than maybe you would have expected in a previous iteration of a SaaS company where you might think APIs, but I would encourage anyone to have a look at it. It's actually very user-friendly for a non-technical user as well.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's great.
So Ru and Roger, on every one of our episodes where we have someone from Sitecore on, we always ask you to spill the beans and we put you on the spot a little bit. So what is next for Sitecore AI? Where is Sitecore AI headed? What can you spoil for us in the audience?
I think for the audience, what I would say is that, our focus over the next, 6 to 12 months is to really kind of double down on kind of what we've released at Symposium, with a laser focus on helping a marketer kind of thrive in today's kind of AI frenzy, right? So whether that's helping them be discovered with continued acceleration of our AEO GEO feature set, whether that's continue to kind of double down on our ABM tooling to kind of help marketers kind of run more successful, high volume, hyper personalized ABM campaigns, to really kind of building an intelligence graph that ultimately provides AI with the context it needs to take high level and maybe even low level decisions on behalf of marketers. And so bringing kind of the strength of the Content Hub graph to SitecoreAI, attaching it to data that we know about the customer, that we know about their past behaviors, that we know about content from content analytics, and being able to use all of that rich tapestry of context to actually feed the agents for decisioning, we think will be an unmatched proposition for the market.
Love it.
That's great. I think it was funny that you both were looking at each other like, who's going to get escorted out of the office after we,
Exactly.
Right. And just to finally, on a final question to wrap up with, for both of you, what excites you most personally about the future of Sitecore AI? Is there a specific area that, you look at and you're like, I'm just really excited about this area personally for just kind of what's ahead?
Without saying AI. Just kidding.
Yeah, right. That's a tongue twister at this point for people.
The unfortunate thing is that I think Roger and I have seen the roadmap, and that for the most part we're accountable for making sure that it's there. So I'm obviously
nervously excited.
I'm not a big surprises person.
Yeah.
The thing that is an unknown quantity for me, but I am very much excited to see where it goes, is the marketplace and is the applications that get developed. I think there is. Whatever myself and Roger and others in Sitecore can imagine that customers might need. I'm actually more excited for what other people think and what other people are going to build on top of Sitecore. Providing a platform like that for innovation and for creativity, I think is very exciting. Some of the applications that I've seen even internally of what people can do, those things always excite me on a day-to-day basis. And so when I see new applications come out with new ways of thinking or new ways of looking at a problem or bringing in data that I never would have thought to bring in, those are always very exciting, and that could be even like there was someone showing me recently, like there was a like a points generator, like for doing stand-ups, and they built like another marketplace app that does like points and does like the kind of daily Scrum stand-up stuff, and they were just like, well, I think I can do it, and I'm just gonna do it, I'm gonna build it, and I have an idea. And I think the creativity that's provided both in our engineering capacity, who they are using an astonishing amount of LLM capacity in their kind of day-to-day work, but they're also really excited about what it is that they have a chance to build. But also the non-technical people, like you said, like the people who maybe would never have been able to build an app before. Roger's incredibly guilty of it. He sends me pictures of apps that he's built, and he's like, "Hey, Ru, what do you think of this app, and I'm going to put this together and build it together." And it's incredible because I wouldn't have had the ability to have built an app like that. I'm not a very technical person.
Right.
But that creativity is always something that I love seeing, and being able to support the enablement of that and the distribution of that, I think is incredibly exciting. But that's something that I'm particularly excited about this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think again, going back to that innovation, really expanding is an exciting area. So,
I think I will just from my perspective. I think what's exciting for Sitecore, I think, is that I think our problem is a bit of an evergreen problem. Like that, I think even though, the way in which our content is being consumed, I think the marketer is always kind of trying to achieve the same outcome. They need to reach the right audience at the right time where they are, and entice them to kind of take a decision, hopefully in their favor, right? And that I think kind of sets kind of Sitecore up kind of rather well, because I think regardless of how someone might experience your brand, I think at the end of the day, the ability for you to manage and curate your content so that you can effectively get your message in front of the right audience is always going to be something that's going to be required. And so I know there's a lot of discussion around the future of the website and the future of digital. I think these are all healthy conversations to have. But the one thing I can say is that whatever the website becomes, I know that you're going to need a healthy, curated DAM and CMS and data and personalization to be able to kind of facilitate the delivery of content into that experience. And so I think AI is just only making the way in which we do that even more exciting, and maybe taking away barriers that might have prevented us from doing things that seemed magical in the past. And so that's a pretty exciting place to be, I think.
Absolutely. The end goal is always the same, but it's how you get there. And that's what it seems like, SitecoreAI is definitely going to be helping with. So that's great. Well, thank you both for joining us today. This has been incredibly insightful, not only for us, but everyone that's going to be listening to this. So we can't thank you guys enough for joining us, and definitely want to get you guys across the pond and in the studio for the next one.
We'd love to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe when it's not -30 or whatever it is.
Yeah, we'll wait for Chicago summer for sure.
Yeah, a few months.
Yeah.
I don't have much insulation on top, so I need.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Roger, Rue, John, thank you for joining us at the water cooler today and providing all this valuable insight. I look forward to what's to come with SitecoreAI, and we hope to have you back on the water cooler again soon. Thanks for listening to the Sitecore Water Cooler Podcast. Find out more information about AmericanEagle.com's Sitecore services and today's topic in the description below. This episode is brought to you by AmericanEagle.com Studios. I'm your host, Maggie Burke, and special thanks to our executive producers, Renee Nelson, Julia Klepich, and Brian Winger.